famous Butch and Bob Show.
World famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing well.
Yep.
All right, we've got a special guest on the phone with us. Take it away, Bob.
Yeah, we continue to talk with our local legislators up there in Atlanta. Today we've got Buddy Deloach on the phone. Buddy, always good to talk to you. How you doing today in Atlanta?
I'm great. I hope you can hear me. I'm in traffic, but I'm hands-free, and I'm almost to the Capitol.
Okay, well, we got you live now. We can finally hear you. A lot going on. We talked to Blake yesterday. He said the session, nothing was going on, but what's going on today in Atlanta?
Well, a lot of the energy and on the House side has been taken up by conversation about tort reform. The House hadn't started debating it yet, but it looms large, and that's what's on most everybody's mind.
Yeah, that's the governor's top. That's the governor's top legislation. They said there were concessions made in the Senate side. Do you have any idea what kind of concessions they made to get the votes?
Yes, they didn't amount to too much. There was a debate about being reimbursed for medical bills, and part of what is shown in court now is if you're familiar with your regular health insurance bill, it shows what the hospital charged and it shows what the insurance company paid. So that was the debate about do you owe what the injured party actually paid, or do you owe what the hospital billed before the adjustment? So they agreed to let them see both, let juries see both. So that's the only real change, and I don't know what the House will do with that.
Yeah, that's the big question. Like I said, it's over in the House, but again, that is the governor's top priority in this legislative session. He's been pushing that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. We had a story today. Georgia lawmakers introducing legislation that would help those who spent time in prison for crimes they did not commit receive financial compensation. Where do you stand on that?
Well, what we've traditionally done is when we have one of those cases, it has been handled individually, and it's through what we call a compensation resolution. It goes through the Secretary of State's office, and then the House and Senate have to pass it and appropriate the money. And it's been very lumpy in the past. One person in a similar situation might get a substantially different amount of money than another. And this is an effort to make that more uniform, set up a system where if they prove they were wrongfully imprisoned and can actually prove that they were innocent, then there's a formula for determining how much money they get based on how long they were in prison. And I think that's a great improvement over the current system, because the current system depends too much on how much horsepower the sponsor of the bill has.
Yeah, just joining us on the phone, Representative Buddy Deloach. Again, before the session began, Buddy, when you were here for eggs and issues, they talked about compensating all these communities hit by the hurricane. I recently traveled to Atlanta this past weekend, and when you drive through Baxley, Hazelhurst, those areas, you see how hard some of those areas were hit. So is that taking place, or are all these communities getting the help they need?
Yes, that is moving forward. That legislation and the appropriations. So I don't know how rapidly that money will get out, but it's set up to go fairly rapidly, particularly to help the timber farmers and to help get all of that debris off of the ground. Once we get into the hot part of the summer and all that stuff is dried up, if it's still laying on the ground, it's an incredible fire hazard. We could have really, really serious fires if we don't get that stuff cleaned up.
And I still hear from local pharmacists. You talked about that last time we had you on the phone. Are you going to be able to help those local pharmacists get the fair compensation they're looking for?
We passed that in the House, and I certainly hope that the Senate will deal with that very, very quickly. That's a ridiculous situation. We had situations where some of these big outfits that do the mail-in pharmacy stuff were getting $700-800 for a prescription, and we were paying local pharmacists less than $100. So that's just way out of line.
That's crazy. How how did that become an issue? I mean, did the local pharmacist start calling people? How did that
Well,
disparity come to light?
we have two uh, very good and seasoned pharmacists in the House of Representatives. One is Butch from Swainsboro, and he chairs the Rules Committee, and the other one is Ron Stevens from the Savannah area. And they've been aware of this, and then pharmacists, every time I go in my local pharmacy, they talk to me about that. And I think they've been doing that for a couple of years now. And we passed a bill last year, and the governor didn't sign it. There was something in there he didn't like, so he did not sign it. So we're going again this year, and we think we have an understanding with the governor's office that he's going to sign this one.
You know, we talked with Blake yesterday. He said he has about 595 unanswered emails. He said he's starting getting bombarded from his constituents. So are you in the same
Yeah.
boat? You hearing a lot from your constituents during this session?
Yes, and I can't keep up with that .gov email. I try, but it's out of control now. So I normally give my constituents my personal email, and I'd be happy to do that on the air. And it's easy to remember. It's simply Buddy Deloach at msn.com.
So, again, you're on a lot of committees. Are you pushing any legislation personally, or are you just
Yeah,
meeting with all your committee?
I have several pieces of legislation. I have some insurance legislation, and it's really housekeeping stuff that I'm doing for the insurance department, and I generally do that every year. They bring the legislation to me. We worked, of course, on that bill to make restaurants tell us what we're eating, and particularly shrimp. We want to know where the shrimp came from, and we think consumers have the right to know that. So Jesse Petrie and I pressed that thing through, and it's in the Senate now. I'm also working on a bill that would help compensate counties for lost ad valorem tax revenue because of the amount of state-owned properties. There are counties where the state owns over 66,000 acres of property, and they take it off the tax rolls. Some of it's good developable property, so those can and the county gets no economic benefit from the state owning it. So we're they've been partially compensated in the past, but we're working on a bill that's my bill that will more adequately compensate those counties.
If you had to state what's the most controversial issue up there in the legislative session, what would it be?
The most controversial,
Right. Yeah. What's being debated the most up there?
well, of course, it's going to be tort reform.
Tort reform. Okay.
It'll always be tort reform this year until we put that thing to bed. It's going to dominate all of the conversation.
Do you think it'll be passed before it's all said and done, or do you think it's just going to be a big debate?
I think we will pass something. It's on a little bit of a bumpy road right now, but those things have a way of all of a sudden they get greased up, smoothed out, and I hope that's going to happen with that tort reform bill. There are a lot of folks that aren't happy with the process. They want to see it go to Judiciary Committee and be fully vetted. It's sitting in the Rules Committee in the House right now, and we don't know what's going to happen with that. There may be a special committee appointed to hear that bill, and a lot of the lawyers on Judiciary feel like it should go through the normal process, and they're going to be very unhappy if it doesn't, and it might lose some votes because of that. And we can't afford to lose more than 4 or 5 votes in the House caucus because we've already lost about 5 that we know of, and we don't anticipate having any votes on the Democratic side. We might be pleasantly surprised, but that's the anticipation right now is that we won't have many Democratic votes.
I'm kind of curious, throughout the state of Georgia, the flu season's been pretty hard on a lot of people. How about the session? Are people missing the session because of the flu, or how's that going up there?
We have not had many absences. Now, some people sound like me, but they don't sneeze, they don't cough, they don't have any temperature, and so there's no reason to believe they have anything that is contagious. You just have a frog in your throat and your voice sounds a little funny.
I understand. Well, they say the pollen
So we
season's
keep
right around the
going.
corner. Yeah.
Yep,
Well,
it sure is.
I would.
Sure is.
The Georgia News Network's had several stories on recently about the Okefenokee Swamp, and it says members of the State House have once again introduced bills to protect the Okefenokee Swamp from mining threats. Do you know anything about those bills and where they're at right now, and will they move forward?
They're getting a lot of signatures, and they have considerable support, but they're not going anywhere.
Why?
It's quite.
Why
quite,
isn't
quite,
the Okefenokee, people in this area want to know why the Okefenokee Swamp is not being protected from mining up to the protection barrier around it that, you got to, basically it's, I don't know if it's like, it's not like a wall, but it's the hard land between the swamp and the regular land that keeps the swamp basically in, and they don't want mining right up to that. Why wouldn't the state legislature, the House at this particular moment, because that's what you're familiar with, put something in there where mining cannot be done adjacent to Okefenokee to protect that natural resource that Georgia has?
Well, I signed that bill last year. You have to be careful about property rights and the state constitution and how it protects that. But we feel like, and I feel like, the swamp is going to be protected. I mean, we are ultimately going to be standing on the ground there if necessary, and we're going to make sure we don't do anything to damage that swamp. But we feel not totally comfortable about the situation, but we really do feel like we'll be able to protect the swamp, and it's not going to be harmed.
I found the correct wordage on it. It said, along the eastern rim of the swamp runs a line of ancient sand dunes called Trail Ridge. And that is what people feel is keeping the swamp part of being a swamp instead of just going out into the other land. The sand is rich in minerals and with titanium dioxide, and Twin Pines wants to mine it as a whitening agent for things like sunscreen, toothpaste, and paint. And so I know the folks in this area are trying our best to try to keep the Okefenokee Swamp Park safe and not mined, because it may harm the swamp, and that's one of the biggest natural resources that we have in the state of Georgia. And I don't and I don't understand why state your elected officials in both the House of Representatives and the Senate would not want to protect it as much as they possibly can.
I think that they do, and I, for one, am absolutely committed. But you can't do things and take somebody else's property unless you show that that's going to happen. I don't want to take a chance on that. I want to do whatever we can do that will hold up to the constitutional test.
Okay,
and we'll keep looking for ways to do that. But I'm with you 100% and absolutely committed to that proposition.
All right.
It's definitely a national treasure, that's for sure. Buddy, always good talking to you on a Wednesday. Again, stay safe in Atlanta, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
It's great to be in Wayne County, if only on the radio.
Have a good day.
Y'all.
Thank you.
All right, take care, buddy. All right, State Representative Buddy Deloach here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. And, hopefully they will be able to do that. That House bill they've got in there is going to put a 5-year moratorium on mining around the Okefenokee Swamp. We're not talking about taking away anybody's land. We're just saying that mining can't be done on it. So you're not really, doing anything of people's property rights. You're just saying that mining cannot be done next to this natural resource we have down there. And it's just amazing to me that anybody would not look at this bill and say, hey, we don't want any mining within X amount of miles of that trail ridge that surrounds the swamp, that keeps it a swamp.
As we always say, it's always about the money. So they're throwing a bunch of money out there. So that's what you got to hope that the legislators will, like I said, be like Buddy and be committed to protecting that natural resource and that natural treasure in this area. So,
well, 2 House bills have been introduced. We'll see how people vote, and we'll make sure people know how everyone voted on that. And because you cannot put money ahead of this natural resource we have down there and possibly mess up this trail ridge. Yeah, it may be have a lot of minerals in it, but I think we can do without the whitening and new toothpaste and all that other kind of stuff. They can get those minerals somewhere else without messing up this natural resource, the only one like it in the country, just for a couple of bucks. It amazes me that anybody would even consider that. So we'll see what happens, Bob. We'll see what happens.
We'll follow it.
We'll follow it and make sure folks know how folks vote on whether they want to protect the Okefenokee Swamp Park or they want the mining company to make money.
I'm sure our representatives want to protect it. I'm sure Stephen Meeks is on the same and so is Blake. So
yeah,
but there's a lot more people up there in Atlanta than those 3. So
it's one of those common sense things. It's one of those common sense things. We know a lot of times that when you get into the Gold Dome or when you get into the Capitol up there in Washington, common sense seems to go out the door sometimes because the money talks louder than common sense.
Yeah, you're looking for common sense in politics? Good luck for that. Where have you been for the last 40 years?
I don't know, Bob. I guess living in a bubble.
I read Long County Sheriff Craig Noble just today. I'm glad he's like, this word's under investigation is about as frustrating as can be. It's frustrating for sheriffs too. They got this big story in Long County where there's all this corruption, all this money missing, and it's been going on for eons now. No one's been arrested, no one's been charged, but still under investigation. So I was talking to Sheriff Nobles yesterday about all that, and I said that's the most frustrating thing for a news reporter. Same thing with this fire, this body still under investigation. The Brad Kicklighter, where's that investigation? That's going on for almost 2 years.
Now, Brad
Kicklighters are investigator.
Let people know what they're talking about.
That Keith Higgins says, lied under oath, falsified documents, all that stuff, all these crimes that he's not been charged with. But he has some company or some organization investigating. That's going on 2 years. So it's frustrating for news. You try to follow these stories and try to get information, but I told Sheriff Nobles that under investigation means they just don't want you to know. They just want you to go away and quit asking questions. It's frustrating. I mean, people want answers. I mean, that situation on 204 North Palm Street, that's, like I said, there's more unanswered questions. What's the result
I'm sure
of the
they're
autopsy?
trying to get them answered, Bob. I'm sure they want the answers just like we do.
Why does it take so long?
I don't know, Bob.
2 years, 3
Have
years?
you been an investigator? Sometimes it takes a while to get facts together.
It's driving me crazy.
We're not. It's not an hour-long crime show on TV. It takes a while to get all the facts together and make sure you got everything correct. And
how about the cause of the plane crash of Howard Washington? We still haven't heard that yet. How long's that been?
Was that mechanical? Was it weather?
Yeah, right.
We don't know.
No, still under investigation.
It's still under investigation. Have you checked into it?
Right.
You keep asking, and they keep saying it's under investigation. They don't know whether it was the weather because it was foggy that morning, or was it mechanical?
How long's that been? Like I said, they just don't. They want you to just go away. That's what they want. They don't want to give you the answers. It's frustrating. I want answers. People deserve answers.
The public needs to know.
Right.
It's their right to know. They're the taxpayers. They have the right to know what's going on.
So like I told Higgins down there in that courthouse, if Brad Kicklighter's that dirty of a cop, then why isn't he charged? What kind of investigation?
Because he'd have to present facts to say that he is, and he may not have those facts. I don't know.
It's just frustrating. I'm just glad to know the sheriffs are as frustrated as I am. I said, Sheriff Noble says, man, how long is this investigation
Sheriff Noble's
going to
in
take?
Long County, yeah.
Right. They've got all this corruption in Long County, all this money missing, and It's still
And the GBI is the GBI investigating, and they're saying it's still an investigation.
Right, yeah, it's still
Well, that means they
investigation.
haven't got solid evidence yet that it's happened.
How long does it take?
I don't know, Bob. I have never been an investigator for a police department or GBI or FBI or anything like that. I just been around behind this mic running a radio station. I haven't been an investigator. I know it takes a while.
I'm telling you, they want you to go away. Is that old
Why
saying?
wouldn't they? If they're investigating, don't they want a result if they're investigating?
You would think, but I'm starting to question that.
You're starting to question.
It's like the old clerk of court told me: in time, memories fade, evidence gets lost, witnesses die. Sooner or later, ain't no case.
Ain't no case because they're okay.
So
Somebody text in, protect the swamp.
yeah,
Well, I agree
no
with that
doubt.
wholeheartedly. You got to protect that swamp down there. They should not be any mining allowed around there that could affect it in any type of way.
Let's hope they protect it. Like I said, it's a gorgeous place.
It ain't that
Natural
worth. It ain't
treasure.
worth getting that in there to mess up. Basically, one of a kind swamp
I mean,
anywhere.
Right. You think you go mine somewhere else?
Yeah, stay away from the swamp. Don't do it.
I agree.
Okay.
Baseball today, Wayne County against Southeast Bullock. Lost a tough one last night, but Pierce County's got a good baseball team. That's Suicide Squeeze. Bunting's kind of a lost art in high school baseball. So I got to give the kid hats off for getting that Suicide Squeeze bunt down. You don't see a lot of kids being able to bunt anymore in high school baseball. It's kind of like a lost art. Everybody wants to hit
We
a home
saw
run.
one of the teams in Atlanta do that against
Right,
us. They did a real good job of bunting.
Right.
Yeah. Playing that small ball.
It's a good weapon.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a lot of kids just can't seem to do it anymore.
Hey,
so.
swing for the fences. That's where the glory is.
Pete Roses are long gone.
The Pete Roses are long gone. Huh? I can outrun that butt. A lot of times he could.
He could bunt.
Charlie Hustle could do it.
Charlie Hustle could do it. That's right.
Yes, sir. But, Wayne County, and who we playing today?
Southeast Bullock.
Southeast Bullock.
Yep. Non-region ball game.
Howard
6
Boatworm
o'clock.
Field at 6 o'clock.
right.
Get out there and support their Jackets. Wear the golden, white, and black and yellow and cheer those Jackets on to victory. They need you out there in force. And, Bob, they got a good concession stand there, don't
Oh,
they?
yeah. Miguel Vale's got it going on with those pork chop sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, all kinds of candy. So come on out and come hungry.
Come hungry, eat.
Yeah.
Support the concession stand there. That money goes back into the baseball program there, and cheer those Jackets on the victory. It's going to be a gorgeous day. If you want a beautiful sunny day, high today is going to be near 78. So somewhere in the mid 70s, somewhere along there, and it'll still be in the 70s by the time the first pitch goes and then drop down into the low 70s and upper 60s. So it's just going to be a gorgeous, gorgeous afternoon night for baseball.
Good baseball weather, that's for sure.
It's going to be pretty. And it's going to be gorgeous weather for Saturday for the golf tournament, too.
Yeah.
So you said there's still
I
spots
think-
open
I think
for the
that,
Winter
yeah,
Blues
there's-
golf tournament
last I
Pine
heard, There's
Forest.
still a few spots left. I'll check today with the clubhouse, so have the update tomorrow. But they've got a good field thus far, but I think there's still a few slots left. It's a 3-person team, so if you want to get your team in, call the pro shop at 427-6505 and get in for the weekend. Should
And
be
they're
fun.
doing it a little bit different. They're having one competition, then lunch, and then another competition, right? Tell us how that works.
It's 18 holes scramble, and then you break for lunch, and then it's 9-hole best ball. So they'll flight it after lunch. So,
Okay.
so it should be fun. Looking forward to it.
You got your team together, Bob?
I got it.
Got it? You got some ringers on there, Bob? Got some people who can carry you around the course?
Well, I hadn't seen Arnie in a while. Arnie Rabinowitz, he's a traveling man. He's always going to New York. But Eddie Fultz is pretty darn good, so I'm counting on Eddie to come through. All the pressure's on Eddie. His back will be hurting about 9 holes.
Dragging you around.
That's right. I'll be on that back. He's got to tote me.
You got to tote. You got to
That's
carry
right.
Bob around the course.
That's
huh?
right. But
right.
I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun.
Sounds fun. All right, Bob. Have a good day.
Look it up.
All right, the world famous Butch and Bob show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup has been brought to you by First Southern Bank, by Murphy Builder Supply, by the Service Department at GNS Auto Sales, and by Heron Aldridge Insurance.